clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Alderman Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Barzak.
Here.
Shablesky.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Lysak.
Here.
May.
Here.
Reinke is excused. And Rote.
Here.
That is 8 present, 1 excused.
We have a quorum. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led this evening by Alderman Vince Vitale.
Thank you, Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will move on to item D on our agendas, which is public hearings. We have one public hearing this evening. I just talked to a few of you out in the hallway, and I know there are some people that wish to speak on this. When that time comes, we'll ask you to go up to this microphone on the podium here, and we'll ask you to give us your name and address just for our official record. First, we're going to have a presentation by the city engineer, Pete Daniels, which will kind of explain the project, and I'm going to ask our clerk to start by formally reading the public hearing item.
It's a resolution to confirm and adopt the report of the interim city engineer containing the schedule of proposed assessments for improvement of West Schlinger Avenue from South 92nd Street to approximately 93 feet east of South 98th Street, and portions of intersecting streets by major asphalt resurfacing of the pavement, miscellaneous sidewalk repair, storm sewer relay, and utility adjustments.
Thank you. Mr. Daniels?
Thank you, Mayor Devine. Okay, this is the hearing for Schlinger Avenue. Here's the procedures for tonight. I'm going to discuss the project scope and cost. We'll discuss assessment rates, methods of payment, and then, as the mayor said, we'll have a time of comments and questions, first from the council, then from citizens affected. Then the public hearing will be closed, and the project will be referred to the Public Works Committee tonight. And then if they vote on it, it will come back here later tonight, back to the full Common Council for decision. Here's the limits of the project. We're going from 92nd Street to a little bit east of 98th Street. Here's some pictures. The pavement out there was put in 1974, so it's 44 years old. The joints, almost every joint looks like this, with a lot of pothole patching, potholes on top of potholes. This type of maintenance for having crews come out and fill these potholes every year is very difficult and expensive. So we would like to patch that up. So the project will include patching the concrete curb and gutter and pavement as needed. We're not replacing it all. We're putting a new 4-inch asphalt surface over the top of the existing concrete to give it more life. There will be some repairs to a few of the utilities, but not a lot of utility work. If there's cracked sidewalk slabs or trippers, we'll replace those as well. The road will stay open. There will be two-way traffic provided at all times. Street parking will be on neighboring streets because we're going to have half the road closed off at a time. So there'll be two-way traffic on the north side, then it'll switch over to two-way traffic on the south side. If you do need disabled parking spaces, we could locate those on some of the side streets for anyone who has disabled plates or stickers. Just let us know. This project was delayed because of the zoo interchange. So the zoo interchange work is finally going to be done. Yay! In 2018, the fall of 2018. The resurfacing of Schlinger Avenue from 92nd to 98th Street was purposely delayed until after the zoo work was completed so as to avoid damage to the new pavement. WisDOT is going to pave the portion of Schlinger that you see right here. This has always been in the plans, the part under the bridges. So they're going to go from 100th Street to that 93 feet east of 98th Street. So they're going to be doing that in July. Actually, they may have already started a little bit of work on that already. But they are committed to having that done and open again by August of this summer. So we're trying to coordinate our project with their project so that both projects can be done relatively close to the same time, and then we can have Schlinger open again as it used to be. The city, like I said, the city's resurfacing work on Schlinger from 92nd to 98th will be going on simultaneously. And as I said before, Schlinger would remain open from 92nd to 98th to accommodate this work. So traffic would be in both directions on half the road. Parking would then have to be on the side streets. WSDOT will open up access under the freeway, like I said, in August of 2018. So it'll be 4 years that has been closed off, but it will finally open up in August of 2018. Now, these pictures were taken in October 2011. I'm going to make the case here that this street did need to be resurfaced before the zoo interchange even began. There were potholes at every joint that crews had to fill every year. So, I don't deny that the potholes have probably gotten bigger, but this road was due to be resurfaced way back in 2011, and we've postponed it for 7 years. So we didn't want there to be damage to the new road. And really, the size of the potholes is kind of irrelevant because we saw out 3 feet at every one of these joints because the drill rigs that the crews use to put the tie bars in can only fit in a 3-foot hole. So the size of these potholes actually becomes kind of irrelevant. So I just want to make the point that nobody's being penalized or punished because the potholes may have gotten a little bit bigger in the past 7 years. We're going to talk later about the fact that you're paying $49.38 per foot. That's the same price that everybody in the city pays. It doesn't really reflect how much work is going on, but we'll talk about that more in a few minutes here. Some other benefits to the project, it will include sustainability benefits. The gravel used to be 100% recycled crushed concrete from old pavements instead of mining for new gravel. Recycled fly ash from coal electric plants will be used in the concrete to reduce mining for new cement, and the new asphalt will be made from 20 to 35% recycled asphalt to reduce milling, mining or drilling for new materials. This is what the new road will look like. New asphalt surface, repairs to some of the curb, repairs to some of the sidewalk. Here's the cost of the project. The pavement will be $361,000, sanitary sewer $30,000, storm sewer $46,000, water main $8,000. So almost $500,000 for this project. And here's how we're funding it. So the general tax fund is paying 44% of it. That's the citywide property tax that everybody pays. The water utility is paying for 2%. That's the citywide fees that everyone pays. The stormwater utility is paying for 10%. That's also citywide fees. The sanitary sewer is paying for 7%. That's citywide fees. So the only portion that the residents are paying is this 37%, $166,000, which is coming from the special assessments. So here's a sample special assessment. If you have a typical 50-foot lot, you just multiply that by $49.38, and the cost of the homeowner is $2,469. Now the bills will not be bailed out until March of 2019, not 2018, but 2019. And at that point, you would be able to choose between various payment options, a lump sum payment, 5-year or 10-year plan. If you choose one of the installment plans, you actually are not making any payments for 20 months until December of 2019. So you have plenty of time to decide how you would like to pay for that. If you would choose the 10-year payment plan, the first year, so this is the charge for the whole year of 2019 would be $346, and by the 10th year it would be down to $257 for the whole year. That would be added to your tax bill. There are some properties along Schlinger that are corner lots, so that may have their longer side of their property being charged. That's not uncommon. There are actually 10,000 parcels out of the 19,000 parcels in the city that pay for more than one side of their property, so that's 55% of the people. 3,400 parcels out of the 19,000 do pay for more than one street. That's 17%. 7,400 parcels out of the 19,000 pay for their street and their alley, so that's 38%. So here's how it works if you have a long side or on a corner. Say it's a 120-foot long side. The assessment rate's the same, $49.38. That would come to $5,900, but then we take 60% off, subtract $3,500, and you're back down to $2,370. So we give a big discount to anyone who's on a corner so that they don't have to double pay. Here's kind of the history of special assessments. We've been doing it for over 100 years. The residents on Schlinger paid for the street in 1974, as everyone else in the city has paid for their street over the 100 years. On this project, we're collecting $166,000, so that's 37% of the cost. The assessment rate is $49.38 per foot for all residential properties anywhere in the city, no matter how wide your street is, or how high the traffic volumes are, or how high the actual bid prices are, or I would add how big the potholes are. Everyone is paying $49.38, so everyone is being treated perfectly equally. Nobody's paying more than anyone else. And this method has been around for a long time. This Wisconsin state law was adopted over 100 years ago that allowed for special assessments. There have been over 100 court cases in Wisconsin that have upheld this law as a fair and reasonable method to recoup the cost. So it certainly has stood the test of time. Special assessments are the only way to ensure that tax-exempt schools, churches, charities, hospitals, county parks, utilities, and railroads pay their fair share too. No one is exempt from special assessments, even though there are 430 properties in the city that do not pay any property taxes. And many of these tax-exempt schools, churches, hospitals, and county parks are very large properties that encompass almost 28% of the parcel area in the city and only contribute to the city's costs through special assessments. So that's one big reason why we do it. I also want to point out that businesses, corporations, and manufacturers pay a higher assessment rate to ensure they contribute their fair share. Businesses, corporations, manufacturers usually have more traffic. They usually have trucks making deliveries. So it's only fair that they would pay $61 to $74 a foot, which is the case on a lot of the properties on Schlinger. The shaded areas on this map are the 430 properties that are tax exempt. I just wanted to show that they do encompass 28% of the city that's not paying any taxes. So this is a way that we can help them pay their fair share as well. And this map, all the shaded areas are all the properties that have had to pay a special assessment in the past 10 years. So just in the past 10 years, almost 3/4 of the city has had to pay a special assessment. So it's not uncommon. Everyone, at least on the east side, has already paid for their street and their alley. And if you go back far enough, of course, everyone in the city has paid a special assessment, including on Schlinger. So everyone's paying their fair share. You're not being singled out. This is how everyone is treated. And most of the mid-sized, the large cities in Wisconsin are special assessing as well. In fact, if you include special assessments for sewers and water main, I think it's darn near 100% of the cities in Wisconsin use special assessments at some point to recoup those costs. But as far as streets, most of the big cities are doing that as well. As far as the interest rate, the city borrows funds for this project. The city pays the interest to these municipal bond holders over the next 10 years. So the city is passing along these interest charges to residents that choose the 5 or 10-year payment plan. The city does not make a profit off of the interest charged. Just wanted to point that out. And at this point, if there's any comments or questions, they can now be heard.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels, for the presentation. Are there any questions from the Common Council on this public hearing item?
Mayor Devine. Pete, this road, when you put asphalt over a road like that, a lot of times the cracks come through on the asphalt surface after a couple of years. Are you doing something special on this project to ensure that doesn't happen?
We're going to crack and seed it, which is something we've done elsewhere, where we break the pavement up into smaller pieces and then we seed it. The cracking is because the pavement is rocking, and if you can break it into little smaller pieces and seed it, it won't rock anymore. So we will definitely do that. It's always going to have some cracks after a couple of years, and we will send the DPW crews out there to fill those cracks, and then it will stay that way for at least 20 to 25 years. If you seal the cracks, they don't usually get worse. So yes, it will definitely have some cracks after a couple of years. We're going to try to reduce those, minimize those, but in the end, it doesn't mean the pavement's broken. It has to crack because it's shrinking and the weather is freezing and thawing and shrinking and contracting. So it has to crack somewhere. But If you seal it, the seal it will expand and contract with the weather, and it should last for 25 years.
And then the thickness of the asphalt that's going to be put down, there is trucking on that road to several of the businesses. Are you making the asphalt thicker?
That road is one of the thickest roads in the city. It's 9 inches thick. It was built for trucks, and then we're going to put another 4 inches on there, so you're going to have 13 inches of pavement. That definitely can account for trucks.
Okay, and then recently we had some no trucking signs put up on the ends of 98th and 97th. Are those in the plans to be put back up afterwards?
Yes, yeah, I don't think they'll actually come down.
Okay. And then I just want to mention real quick, I think for a while there, Alderman Barzak and I were under the impression that DOT was going to be paying for this project. I know we've worked with the DOT to try getting them to pay for as many of these as possible. It sounds like the reason this one wasn't put on their list is because it was already planned for 2011. By holding it off for these 7 years, we didn't repave in 2011, it gets destroyed again and have to repave it. I'm guessing that's it. So I think we were under a different impression at the time, but I think we understand the rationale now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the Common Council? Alderman Barzak?
Just a little bit of piggyback onto what Alderman May said. I think Theater Trucker Drive was concrete, and I believe it's the same 9-inch concrete, and handles massive truck traffic. Again, I think the same was done there because the sewer was put through, et cetera.
Yes, we cracked it and we seeded it, and yes, it's held up. It's been at least 10 years or 15 years now.
It's about 15.
You know, it just levels out. There are initial cracks, you seal them, and then it just kind of levels out, and it stays that way for a very long time.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other questions from the Common Council? Seeing no questions from the council, are there any questions from the members of the audience? This is the opportunity to
My
speak.
name's Ed Lipinski. I live at 9631 West Schlinger. Did I understand you that you were going to do this work before the zoo interchange is done?
Well, we're going to do it at the same time. So they're going to finish the part under the bridge in August. We're going to be working in June, July, August, the same time. Our portion will be open. So if their portion opens a few weeks before ours, you'll be able to get through. But we'll be pretty much working at the same time and finishing.
But there will be no heavy trucking for the zoo exchange anymore.
Shouldn't be.
No, not shouldn't be. There won't be.
Well, Schlinger is a trucking route, so I mean, there's going to be.
understand that, but I mean, because of the trucks and the material that they're hauling, that's why that road broke up so fast. I mean, I know it was 44 years that it was there, but it broke up a heck of a lot more since the zoo was being built.
I don't deny that, but it needed to be done then. And it probably got a little bit worse, yes, but it's not costing you any more.
It got a lot worse.
Well, it's not costing you any more to do it. We waited. You wouldn't want to have done it then. We waited.
Why not wait until after?
Well, we are. There won't be any more zoo trucking. They're going to be done in August.
Well, they were supposed to be done in 2017.
Well, they've assured me they're going to
Yeah.
be done. I would say 99.99% of the trucking is done. There might be a stray dump truck, I don't know. But they've assured us they're going to be done with all the zoo, at least south of I-94.
Why can't we get a portion of the money from the zoo contract?
I asked the WSDOT, and they said no, the street was too far gone when they started, so...
Well, we know better than that. It wasn't too far gone.
It was full of potholes.
Oh, it was
full of potholes.
starting to show signs, but usually concrete lasts 50 to 60 years, especially at that thickness.
there were a lot of politics going on. WSDOT had a certain amount of money they were going to give West Dallas, a certain amount of money they were going to give Wauwatosa, a certain amount of money they were going to give Milwaukee. We got money to do traffic signal work. We got certain other roads over Curtis Road was done because they damaged that. They had a certain amount they were going to give us. And they're going to do Greenfield Avenue. You know, the assessment rate's still the same, even if they had given us some money. You know, the $49.38 per foot is, we're doing national this summer. We have federal money. They're still paying special assessments. Everybody's paying a special assessment. Everyone's treated the same, whether there's state
I
money
know
or
that,
federal.
but I'm just saying that why can't we get a little more money from them to reduce our costs since they did some major damage to it?
Well, I asked, and they
And
said
it was
no.
44 years old. I was there
Right.
when they originally put in the road and sidewalks and curbs on our side. But
I asked, they said no, the street was already too far gone. It's not their fault. It was already bad. It doesn't change your assessment. Like you just said, it's $49 a foot. Everyone pays $49 a foot everywhere in the city, whether you're on Lincoln, National, everybody's paying their fair share. We don't, you know, treat some people as favorites. So everyone's paying $49.
well, I know that, but I
So-
mean, it doesn't seem fair.
You're not being treated unfair. You'd be treated equally with everyone else in the
I mean,
city.
with the zoo the zoo construction, we should have got some money out of them for it. I didn't see anything up there saying what their share was.
They're not paying for anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right. Well,
And I heard originally they were supposed to be done from 92nd up to 102nd.
I think that was a misunderstanding. They're just doing from 98th to 100th Street. That's the part they're doing. That plan is from 2012, so that hasn't changed. Nothing has changed in their plans in 5 years. So,
Well, yes, it has. They used the money
well,
for other things, the state.
Does anybody else have questions under the public hearing?
Hi, my name is Kimberly Cosby, 9309 West Schlinger Avenue. And this is more so of a statement. I purchased my house on my own. I am a single parent, and I think it's a bit smug of you to say $49.58, that's equal. Everybody's going to do that, and that's fair. It may be fair across the city, but it is not fair to every household because my salary is very different from someone else's salary, and I cannot afford $2,500 additional into my property taxes and to take care of my home. So I think it's a little smug that you say everybody is paying this and it's all equal. It's really not when you're in your home. It's not. What I get paid annually is very different from what someone else may get paid lower than what I am. And my income cannot sustain $2,500. It may seem a little bit of money to you, but it's a lot to me, and I cannot afford to do that. I'd rather take that money and put it back in my house so that my resale value is much larger. I would love to build an addition. I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to pay for this street. I cannot. And I've lived there since 2010. So I ask you, if you please consider, everyone thinks that, you know, this is a time of change and we can do all these wonderful things, and Trump gave us all this extra money. I didn't get that money. I didn't get that income. So I don't have this income to give to you. And you're taking away from my household if you do that. Do I go a year or 2 years with no heat because I'm running oil? Do I not pay my electric bill? How do I afford to do that? Because I can't afford it. I work every single day just to make ends meet, and I can't afford any additional cost. And that $2,500, that's a lot of money. That is. That's all I wanted to say, and I'm going to sign my name here.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have comments or questions?
Anthony Marciniak, 9415 West Schlinger. We're going to seat and bed this. We're going to bust the whole concrete street up till it's small pieces so that it flows better as opposed to big chunks rocking. I get that.
Right.
Does the street sink 4 inches that you put the asphalt over it? Are my curbs only 5 inches tall? How does that work?
Curbs are 6 inches now, and we're going to actually mill a little bit at the curb, so the curb will get smaller. The curb will be about 4 inches instead of 6.
You're going to mill the top of the curbs off?
No, we're going to mill the gutter.
Oh,
The
I
gutter
get you.
down.
You're going to, okay,
Right.
so you're going to
Right.
chip that up and
Right.
make a recess that fits in. My $49.38 per foot obviously goes from my front yard to the center of the street, with the people across the street paying the other $49. And how long is this supposed to last? You said 25 years.
Yes, that would be
And
our best guess.
And this hasn't been repaved for the 44 years since it
4
was
years,
built.
right.
And we are going to be able to make payments of $360 a year, $1 a day, to pay for the street for 10 years?
10 years, correct. That's
Okay,
correct.
so it's $1 a day for your street for the next 10 years.
That's correct.
Now, I've rode on that street on a little scooter, and there's stuff to be paid. And I think it's a good idea. It's been a long time. Not everybody can afford it, I get that. But it's got to be done, right? And it's only going to be more expensive to do it later. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Mayor Devine, if I may.
Alderman Haas.
Yeah, Pete, I think there's just a misunderstanding in the last line of questioning. The $49 per foot or linear foot, that's your frontage
Right.
of the road. So not
Right.
from the center of your house to the center of
Right.
the street, but how much frontage.
It's the width of your lot.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But it goes out to the middle of the street.
Right,
On the other
right.
side.
Yeah, I understand.
Jewel Molson, 9218 West Schlinger Avenue. My question is if you're planning to do this in 2011, I think you could ask any of us on Schlinger. We never thought the road was bad in 2011. Could you have given us maybe something going, we're going to close off this road for 4 years, but we were planning to redo this in the first place. Give us a little heads up to all of a sudden, we watch trucks go back and forth every 5 minutes for the last 4 years, and now you say they had nothing to do with this road?
I'm not saying they had nothing to do. I said they probably did do some damage, but the road was already past the threshold of needing to be resurfaced, and the potholes being a little bit bigger aren't actually costing us or you anymore.
No, but
'Cause
it would
we're-
have been, I mean, it would have been just kind of like a little heads up. Look, we're going to be doing construction. We think your road is going to be needing repavement or whatever you're planning on doing. Maybe for the future, you might want to
In
think about doing that for
retrospect,
residents.
that is a good
My
point.
second question is if we go onto the city website, we have 38 feet. Now we're getting the estimate we got was 40 feet. Is this just estimate, or do we gain 2 feet?
Well, we can look at that. Your estimate should be pretty close to the penny, what it's going to be. I don't,
Okay, because ours is measuring, the last time I looked, it was 38 by 120, and now we're
check.
getting charged for 40. I know it's
we
only
can check that.
$100.
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
can check
curious.
that.
Okay.
That shouldn't change, no.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dennis Cherbini, 9244 West Schlinger Avenue. And I was just wondering, is this road qualify for the capital improvement program or no?
Yeah, it is part of the capital improvement program.
Well, I don't understand, like, since I lived there, I've seen earth-moving equipment going up and down Schlinger. I'm not talking about just dump trucks. I'm talking about 30-foot trailers with backhoes. And you cannot tell me that I know the road was scheduled before to get redone, but I can't understand why the DOT wouldn't at least pay a portion of it, since, I mean, they had to do something to the road worse than what it was.
And they probably did, but it's 9 inches thick. It's a trucking route, and it will continue to have trucks from the whole north side of Schlinger.
Yeah,
some
but
of those
earth-moving
business.
equipment?
Some of those
30-foot trailers
landscaping.
with backhoes?
There are landscaping companies there. It was built to be, it's extra thick. It was built to withstand trucking.
But I'm just talking about, I understand that portion, but I'm saying, I don't understand how the DOT cannot be on the hook for not even a penny of the improvement of the road.
Mr. Daniels, I guess I can kind of touch on that too. And just historically speaking, we've asked the state for a lot of things, and they don't listen to us very often. I mean,
Yeah.
we ask for, shared revenue, we ask for road aids, we ask for about the dark store, tax assessment, fair practices, and it really comes down to echoing this to your state representatives and your state legislature. I mean, we lobby, we push, we ask, we are in almost daily, if not every other day, in conversation with the state on something regarding the city, and it's just, they're the kings, and they feel the same way about the federal government when the state asks the federal government for funding or ideas and things like that and don't get listened to. It's very frustrating, but I know that, we have made it wasn't just like a casual phone conversation saying, hey, you want to pay for part of this? No, okay. I mean, it was meetings and workshops and efforts. It wasn't just a kind of a fly-by-night request.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, thank you.
Ed Lipinski again. A question about fixing up the asphalt within the next 25 years. Who's going to pay for that?
If we have to seal the joints,
Pardon?
You mean to seal the joints, or, yeah, that'll be.
Well, we know it's going to crack and you're going to get grooves in it from the trucks.
The Public Works will come and do that, no charge. That's routine maintenance.
So for the next 25 years,
Yeah,
we won't be at any additional cost.
no.
Thank you. Can we get that in writing?
Good evening, Jim Fryberry, 9417 West Schlinger. Just one question and a comment. I'm a new homeowner, just moved in, not even been there a year. For the gentleman that talked about, you had not just a phone conversation, but you've gone through, how to figure out how to pay for this. Were they all notified about this happening, or when did you decide to do this?
Mr. Danis, can you talk about the capital improvement plan?
Yeah,
Every street
right.
basically has a rating, and
Right.
Do you mail that out so they
No,
know
we don't.
beforehand or something, or? So
Things
this is all
are-
brand new to everybody?
Yes.
And if I bought the house last year, there's no way for me to know that you're thinking about doing this?
If you would call, I could tell you tentatively. I mean, we don't have our plans set until, the winter.
Okay.
We don't operate that far in advance, for sure. I mean, every budget is tentative until it's passed, so the budget's passed in December. That's when we pretty much knew this was a go.
A few months ago.
So, yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, like I said, you have 20 months until you actually have to make a payment. You've got
Hopefully
over
I
a
can
year.
sell it by then, huh? And then my other quick question is, if there is, 2 years from now, heavement, major damage in the road,
We'll
is there
fix it.
insurance on this, or
Well, there's a 1-year guarantee.
2 years? 3
1-year
years?
guarantee for the contractor, and beyond that, the city will maintain it
With no cost to
with
me?
no cost. Right?
If there's potholes like that,
absolutely.
how far out does that go?
How far out?
Like 20 years, 15, like at what point then do you say, now you guys got to pay for it?
Well, 25 years from now, when my successor is here, he'll take a drive and he'll see all the potholes and.
Is there anything in writing that says that we don't have to pay again if there is problems? I'm just curious.
it's just the general road maintenance
Yeah.
that Public Works does. We always are calling in potholes from complaints we get, and then they go patch them, whether it's
But
a
if
cold
it's
patch.
something major, like a snowstorm freezes the ground, there's a big damage, you got to come out and fix something.
It's like the big sinkhole we had this winter
Yeah, you're
when
not
the water
gonna
main
charge
broke.
us.
Public
charge
Works
me.
does all that. Public Works takes care of all that.
I mean, technically, it's paid for because it's funded through property taxes, but you're not getting specially assessed for
No.
it. I mean, it's part of our capital improvement, capital maintenance.
And what you're doing now isn't paid for through my property
The
taxes.
portion was that,
What he
Well,
had shown.
44% is, yes.
So my property taxes fixes it if there's something major,
Yes,
but not to this point.
guaranteed.
All right.
I think too, and Ms. Moulton, you mentioned this, I think this is interesting, and I kind of made a note to try to put out our capital improvement plan a little more prominently, whether it's in the newsletter or, let people know what roads have the lowest rating and might be coming up in the near future. So that's a good suggestion. I'm sorry, we got somebody new.
Dale Cantwell, 9700 Schlinger. My question is, what was the cost of the road in 2011 to repair it? First, what the cost is now?
I don't know. I'd have to
You don't know.
calculate that.
So why don't we pay the cost of what it would have been then instead of now, since you guys held it out?
Ed Lipinski, I just got one more question. Are you coordinated with the other utilities companies as far as that they won't have to dig it up a year later?
We try, but they're like the state. They do their own thing. We can't control them. If there's an emergency gas main break, they're going to come dig up the brand new street. I can't stop that, but
they'll repair it.
They're all aware of it. They're all aware of it. So if they have a long-term thing they need to do, they will come do it now. But if they do have to dig up, then they will pay 100% of fixing the pavement. They'll put it right back. But it'll have a hole cut out of it. But yeah, I can't control, if there's an emergency, by state law, they have to be allowed to get in there. Telephone, gas.
I just don't understand why we can't wait another year before doing it and make sure the zoo's done.
It'll be done. It'll be done.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the public hearing?
I have one. Marge Lipinski at 9631. If you put in a regular cement roadway, how long does it take before that starts breaking down? You figure with heavy trucks and that, you say in 3 years we could have cracks. 3 years is a very short period of time for all this money that you're asking us for. And you said with landscaping and that, we're going to have these backhoes, we're going to have a lot of heavy equipment. And there's more businesses now in Schlinger than they were when we moved in over 40 years ago. So how long, if you're going to have possible cracks that you're going to have to fix every few years and have that done and get paid for it somehow, what's the difference between putting in something really good and maybe going a lot longer?
It would double the cost, and it would double your assessment because we have a higher assessment rate for a new road. So your assessment would be 40% higher, and the cost to us would be double. And it just wouldn't be good use of money because the road has life left in it. It has at least 25 years left in it. We're getting an extra 25 years out of it.
Then why are we tearing it up to put in asphalt?
We're not tearing it up. The road is staying. We're just covering it.
Well,
we're taking the
it
potholes
seems to me
out.
if we're only going to have little curbs and we're going to have a higher road, it just seems like that's a cheapy way to do it. And we're going to have all this heavy equipment coming back, and every year it's going to get more because we're getting more commercial businesses. It would make sense to have something done right the first time than to have it messed up in a few years.
This is the same treatment we used on National and Lincoln, and those streets carry 4 times the traffic of Schlinger. So, Trekker, this treatment will last 25 years.
And I disagree with you when you say, well, it was bad before. Now, maybe it was in certain areas. In front of our house, it wasn't. We had pretty good roadway. And it wasn't until these trucks came by that we got these great big holes and all these stones thrown up, which we didn't expect either, which would have been nice if we would have been notified things were going to happen. But isn't there any way to patch up this and make it last longer, since a lot of the road could be maybe still good?
Well, we are going to patch the potholes, and then we're going to give it a nice smooth surface with this asphalt over the top. We are patching it to give it more life. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing.
Well, if you just patch it, couldn't you just patch it instead of putting asphalt on top?
It would be very bumpy. I mean, it would be a very bumpy road.
Well, I've driven around West Dallas for decades now, and there are roads in West Dallas that are far worse than ours was 4 years ago. And I kind of take offense when you just kind of gloss it over and say, well, you know, it was due to be fixed, and therefore it's fine to say, well, we're going to do this now with this big additional cost. It wasn't that bad. 4
It's
years
40,
ago.
it's 44 years old. Roads don't last much longer than that anywhere in the city. You just can't make a road last more than 40 to 50 years, so
And how long is an asphalt road going to last?
25 years. This treatment should last 25 years.
So, well, I'll be probably long gone by that time, maybe long before that. I think you glossed over it way too easy.
Hi, Josh Trebo, 9214 West Schlinger. How are you going to break up the top of the road?
There's a device that's kind of like a guillotine.
Yes, and you just said, everybody heard you, that road is still in good condition, right?
Well, this will help it from rocking and preserve the asphalt.
I'm also a contractor, and I know for a fact that when you're going to take that machine and you're going to bust up that whole road, that road isn't going to be any better. It's going to be worse off. And then you're going to slap asphalt over the top of it. It's not going to stay.
We've been doing
It's
this for
9
decades.
inches thick right now.
Yeah.
All you need to do is cut out the cracks and patch it the right way with concrete and rebar.
Well, we are going to patch it with concrete.
That's a hell of a lot cheaper than doing the whole road at our cost, for having the taxpayers pay for
We
it.
are going to patch the potholes with concrete. We are going to put tie bars in.
That's all you need to do.
There are
9 inches thick, right?
There are some smaller potholes that we're not going to, so if a pothole's really tiny, we don't bother cutting those out, so you would still,
You're telling me it's going to cost $500,000 to take a machine, a water cutter, and cut out trenches like you do on some of the major streets, and then put rebar reinforcement, and that's going to cost more than $500,000 to do that length of street? Sewer and water.
wait, one more time, I guess I'm not.
The
Yeah,
cracks and the...
We're going to cut out the bad spots, put new
Right.
concrete
That's
in.
going to cost, and then that's going to cost, you say it costs more money to fix it the way we want it fixed, which is just to patch
No, I'm
it?
not saying it's going to cost more, but I'm saying it's not going to be a good product, because we're not going to
And you
cut.
just said the road has a lot of life left in it.
It does. It's got 25 years left.
25
If
years
we
left.
fix it.
So why don't
If
you
we
wait till
fix it.
25 years later to do all what you want to do instead of just patching it and repairing it the way it should be
Because we're
done?
sending crews out to fill those potholes every year, and that's very expensive. If we
It's
fill,
it's
we're
not a
gonna-
pothole if you cut it out with a diamond blade saw and fill in the 9 inches of concrete and reinforce it. It's not a it's
we
not a
are going to
pothole.
do that for the big ones, but I'm saying there are some smaller potholes that we're not going to do that for, and the asphalt will fill in the smaller potholes.
This is just a waste
If
of money.
we-
That's the
No,
problem.
this is a proven technique that everyone is using.
No, it's not. It's a
We've
waste
done
of
it.
money.
Mayor Devine?
Alderman May?
If I could quickly mention that if anyone would like to see Theo Trekker, it carries probably 5 times as much traffic, concrete trucks every day, and it's been there 10 to 15 years following this method. If you'd like to see how it's lasted the last 10 to 15 years, I encourage everyone to take a ride from 108th to 116th, which is the extent of Theo Trekker, and see how this works. The reason just cutting pieces and fixing them and cutting more pieces and fixing them year after year is it does cost more over time. And the 2 greatest deteriorators of roads are trucking, which we'll fix with the thickness of the pavement and with the rubbleizing of the concrete underneath, and water. Water penetration is one of our worst. You could go to the lowest traveled street in this city carrying only cars, and you will see the road will fall apart after a while because of the water that seeps in. So another reason for putting this surface on the top is it seals water out, which helps the road last the 25 years. If we did just the cutting pieces out and patching it like you're saying, that is not going to last 25 years.
No.
And I can say it from experience as a civil engineer, a person who studied this for my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and experience about 20 years in the industry. This is the way that roads get repaired everywhere in the state because it's proven to be the most cost-effective method. And
You're gonna have to be on the
I'm sorry,
microphone
sir,
if you're
not-
gonna be talking.
You're not on the microphone, you got to come up again. But, and I can't have a direct conversation with you, I'll have to have it with Pete. But this is the method that works. And if we want to see this road last another 25 years, this is the way that it's going to have to be done. Otherwise, if we do it the way that has been suggested here, it may last another 10 years, and we're going to have to scrape the entire road out, put it all back down for twice as much, and you'll pay about 40% more in your assessment to have that done. So I just want to quickly make that mention.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Well, what you're also overlooking is that in the past 4 years, you added 10, 15 years of wear on that road, having all that heavy machinery up and down the road. They added the wear and tear to that road.
It would have, it's near the end of its life anyway.
You just said it had a long life to go.
I meant with the asphalt over the top, yes, right. We're not taking it out. In response to starting from scratch with new concrete, that would double the cost. We don't want to do that. But the concrete that is there will have another 25 years if we do the treatments that we're talking about.
Does anybody else have questions under the public hearing?
I have another question. Did the DOT say anything or ask permission or however they do that they're going to use Schlinger? I mean, did they have free access to do whatever they wanted, go wherever they want to?
They
to
did
build
ask,
this?
then since that was a trucking route already, they asked if they could use it. Yes.
Did you have any indication of how much damage they were going to do while they were using it?
No.
That would have been something to check into, because out of the clear blue, I mean, we basically saw it deteriorate overnight. It wasn't like the holes just came about the last year. They came pretty quickly. And I just think that for them to use the road, they should have said, we will pay a portion of the cost to fix it, because it would have lasted a whole lot longer if they had not used the road. Now, maybe they could have they took plenty long time to get this freeway going, and it's still going to take a lot longer to finish it, whether it's done on time or pushed back again. So they could have looked at other routes or whatever too. You know, if they just took it and we just sat back and said, sure, why not? We're going to fix it someday anyway. That really severely hurt us, because it wasn't in front of my house. It was not like that. We had a good road. And I think that's something that should be pushed with them. If they said no, then go back and push some more.
Well, we did, but like the mayor said, they are king and we are not. We have no leverage with them.
Other than voting.
And the city should have more to pay.
We did, Pete, can you tell them what we did get from the DOT and the new signals and the contributions that
They installed new signals, they...
cost of?
About $2 million. They did help.
84th and National is one of them.
Lincoln, National, 84th, the whole box that they were going to move traffic around on Highway 100. There were 28 signals that they installed. They did pave Fairview, which was right along the freeway. They paved parts of Curtis that they damaged. They are going to resurface Greenfield Avenue. So.
Does anybody else have any questions on the microphone? Does anybody else have any questions on the microphone about this public hearing?
So you mean to tell me, because you guys didn't negotiate it right the first time, that we have to pay the price for poor negotiation on when this was all set with the zoo interchange? I know my grandfather and my mother went to meetings on it. It was talked about that there was an impact on our road, and you guys all knew this. So what happened to the money? Is it spent on Greenfield and the pretty roads that isn't the side roads like our road? I mean, that's kind of how I feel is where the money got spent.
The road was already too far gone.
Did they give you a flat amount of money?
I had pictures of the potholes.
Or was it specific for traffic signals, specific for national, or just the general fund?
They had an agenda. The state had an agenda. They wanted the signals fixed on National, Lincoln, to benefit them. Very little of it was really to benefit
The money
us.
that they gave West Allis, was it a general fund or was it specific for repairs?
It was specific for signals, specific for the streets that I mentioned.
Well, why didn't you guys negotiate Schlinger in that, knowing that most of the truck traffic was going over Schlinger?
It wasn't, they were all over the place. They were on Curtis, they were on Theodore Trecker, they were on 98th
Everything
Street.
that got hauled out of there came down the ramp right next to our property. I mean,
But the
everything.
zoo-
I mean, I've seen the construction. You guys had problems on Greenfield. They have a road that comes right down the ramp. I mean, I'm not slighting you guys for maybe what somebody else did 10 years ago when this was negotiated, but does the city have a fund to help us out? I mean, the road got wrecked. I mean, we all agree it's wore out more than it ever should be with those trucks. You guys don't have a little more to kick in to help the people that can't afford it? I mean, it's a large amount of money. My property's almost $8,000 for the frontage on there. You know, as well as the trucks have affected the renters that we have in the building, the car dealerships dusting off his cars 3 times a day with the trucks and the dust. The auto repair guy can't put cars out in the sun so they can bake the sun, you know, or the paint can get baked in the sun. You know, we've actually not increased rent on any of those properties in 4 years because that bridge is closed. I'm going to lose those businesses if you guys don't get this done quickly and cheaply. Now, we pay $14,000 a year in property taxes. Now I got to add this on top of it. So now I got to raise rents to try and cover that. I mean, the school went over budget, property taxes went up a little bit for that. I mean, when does it stop? We have people on fixed incomes. They can't afford that. I mean, I just think you guys need to look at how you can help us out because it maybe wasn't negotiated right. Schlinger should have been specified as it was going to get more damaged, and you guys should have got some money for it. That's my way of it.
Are there any other questions on the public hearing?
Mr. Mayor.
Just a second. Are there any other questions on the public hearing? Alderman Vitale?
Yeah, I would like to address the fact that in our district, in the first aldermanic district, we just finished Lincoln Avenue from 61st to the very east city limits. So that base has probably 8-9 inches of base. Mm-hmm. So what happened, like Mr. Daniel, what really said tonight, they did the same thing. In places, the concrete was broken. So they replaced it, and they put a new base in certain spots, in many spots, because the base was bad. So the road was built in 1986 with concrete from 61st to the very east city limit by the railroad. So that road is not 44 years old. It's less than 44 years old. So what happened? People live there just as well. There's business, there's apartments, there is all kind of business and people with the same issue not afford probably for the payment of the improvements. But the fact is that the road has had less life, but the trucks on a daily basis, Lincoln Avenue, they come from west of Lincoln, they come from Milwaukee, they come from all over. There's trucking going through there because that's the way it is. That's part of a business. The trucks are gonna go somewhere. So Lincoln Avenue gets used a lot. So those people pay for the assessment. So they did a great job. They scraped down about this much off of the old concrete. Is that correct?
Right, that's correct.
So, and they put a new asphalt. That road, I believe, the way it was done from 61st all the way to the east limits, is done, I believe, to last more than 25 years. I mean, they did a great job, you know, and I understand, I mean, that's hard for anyone, really, and I sympathize. It's hard for somebody to pay those type of assessments. But if you let the road go, I mean, it's going to cost a lot more money.
Right.
And the city's been pretty good about it, really. We go from 60th, from Kinnickinnick River Parkway, all the way to Morgan. They did portion from Forest Home to Morgan last year, just on one side, Milwaukee. But the rest of the road is disastrous. You drive it through that road. It's so bad. And now finally, Milwaukee, they came up with the money, and of course with the assessments and everything else. So it took a couple of years before they could do from Forest Home all the way to to connect to Lake River Parkway on the city, West Allis city limits. So really, you know, if we talk about Schlinger, about the trucking that caused some more damage, I understand that. But Lincoln Avenue, many parts of thoroughfares with a lot of traffic, those people live there too, and they pay assessments, you know. And like I said, I do sympathize with everyone, but somebody's got to pay for it. I mean, that's the way it is. I don't like it to pay for something probably I cannot afford it, but that's part of the system, you know, the way things got to get done. Otherwise, we start getting roads like we have in Milwaukee, you know, and we're not that bad here in West Allis. There's some side streets, and we keep after here with special improvements and capital improvement program. We still continue to do that, and everything is cost money. You know, we don't get money like this was discussed tonight from the state that, to pay full assessment for those projects. We're not. So that's how I feel. I understand that's hard when a city come forward, you know, the engineer department and public works vote for, you know, that there is always a pain. But the pain is got to be alleviated in time because project has to be done if you want a good community, a good city to come into, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Vitale. Are there any other questions on the public hearing?
I just have one quick question. You refer to Schlinger Avenue as being a truck route. I've lived there since 1952, and it used to be a truck route when 100th Street went through to Blue Mountain, before the zoo was in there. So since then, things have changed a bit. Schlinger Avenue goes dead end to a railroad track. Every way to get in and out of there from that end is basically a residential street. I realize that the trucking going in and out to businesses on Schlinger, you can't stop the trucks from going there. They need to go there. Are you going to, after you put this surface on there and let more trucks going to go through, you're going to allow them to go on the residential streets to cut through?
No, no.
Are you going to put up signs that stop trucking on Schlinger?
Sure.
Not on Schlinger, but on the side streets we already have.
Through trucking on Schlinger?
Well, no,
You
no.
can't call- okay,
You can just truck up to the freeway.
You would have to say that
Nothing's changing with the
any
trucking.
truck that goes up Schlinger, how are they going to get out? They're just making deliveries on Schlinger.
Right, that's correct. That's correct.
Okay, then it's not a truck route.
No,
98th
but
Street,
trucks are
96th
allowed.
Street, 95th Street, well, not 95th, but 92nd Street, they can't go anywhere.
They just
So
have
if
to go to
you keep the
84th.
trucks-
They have to go to 84th, right.
Keep the trucks off of there as much as you know.
Right.
Well, if you do that, that's a help anyway.
Does anybody else have comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we will close our public hearing, and we will move on to item E on the agendas, which is citizen participation. This is the opportunity for residents to address the council on any matters of interest to them. We ask that you keep these comments to approximately 5 minutes, and this portion of the agenda is set for 30 minutes. Does anybody wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will close citizen participation. We will move to item F. Our standing committees will be meeting during recess. Those room numbers are listed on page 2 of your agendas. I have a couple of things under item G, the mayor's report this evening. First off, I want to mention that the citywide cleanup, which was scheduled for Saturday, can't really clean up when the ground is covered in snow, so that has been postponed till some date in May. It will be at the substation. We'll post the information on that when we get it. The other thing I want to mention is that tomorrow, starting at 4 o'clock, we have the first ever homeowner resource fair that the city is putting on, and it's going to be here at City Hall. We are going to have presenters and exhibitors. We're going to have prizes, drawings, things like that. There will be information on fire safety, home security, lead intervention, permitting, pet resources, refuse and recycling, community gardens, rain barrels, tons of topics, financing on home improvement loans, all sorts of things. That's going to be 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock tomorrow, Wednesday, April 18th, here at City Hall. So I'd like to invite you all to attend that. And I also just want to announce that Friday afternoon, we are going to be welcoming a new business into our downtown, directly next to Aggie's Bakery. We'll have the Complete Wedding and Events business opening up. They offer wedding photography, videography, lighting, DJ services, and photo booth rental. And I'm going to assume that a lot of their clients will also buy wedding cakes at Aggie's Bakery. So that does conclude the report, the mayor's report this evening. Do we have any reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel?
I just wanted to mention, last week, there's a group forming that's formed to try to create neighborhood dog parks. Looks like we're looking at 2 right now, and I know you were there, obviously, and Alderman Rote was there also. The group is currently in the planning and fundraising phase. We're looking at 2 possible locations. One is the power line right-of-way just west of Reservoir Park, next to the freeway, south of Greenfield Avenue, and then the other one would be east of Nathan Hale High School, south of the police department. None of this is for sure yet, but I just want to let people know that those are the 2 sites that we've come down to. Steve Sherrod, our Department of Development, is spearheading that. If you have any questions, you can reach out to him or the mayor or Alderman Rote or me. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman May?
A few months ago, the Common Council passed a resolution encouraging our state legislature to pass the victim prevention package. It was a package authored by one of our state representatives, Joe Sanfilippo, and our state senator, Leah Vukmir. And it took about a year in the legislature, but it finally passed. And yesterday, Alderman Rote, Chief Mitchell, and I were able to go out to Madison to attend the bill signing. So I just wanted to recognize that did finally pass through the legislature and was signed by the governor. And just a quick commendation to all. This last snowstorm was incredibly difficult, very heavy snow. I just want to quickly comment on how impressed I was by the number of residents who went out and helped other neighbors that just could not take care of that heavy snow on their own. And I think it's great to see our residents helping each other out, and I think that deserves special commendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports from the alderpersons? Okay.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council regular meeting of April 4th, 2018.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Vitale. Is there any changes or amendments to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item J, I will ask for a motion to place item 3 on file and refer items 4 and 5 to the city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman May, second by Alderman Barzak. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Standing committee reports, Administration and Finance Committee, Alderman Haas.
Goes out after the recess.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Weigel. Is there any, never mind the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are in recess.